Bob, I think this is why looking at the kill shot reviews is so powerful twice the night before and once the morning we get up. The night before they imprint in the brain, and the brain goes over them over and over. Would you agree with that?
Actually, I disagree just a little bit.
Okay, tell me why.
What we talk about, and we've known this for a very long time, that if you want to, the motor skill consolidation is what occurs in the last 2 hours of sleep for your normal sleep cycle. We think that that's true of people who get 6 hours. Below that, we're not so sure. And certainly people beyond 8 hours, it's definitely true as it is at 8 hours. If you're learning something new intellectually or consolidating some timing stuff that's not an actual physical skill that you've worked on, taking a nap and then repeating the skill, which would be watch the videos, take a nap for 30 minutes, watch them again. You'll consolidate that information faster. Intellectual stuff turns out to respond faster to naps than physical skills that you've performed and are practicing. Whereas the physical skills you get in the last 2 hours of the night, you take all that consolidation, and that's why they talk about motor. They talk about spindles and motor connections, motor memory. But the intellectual stuff, if you were trying to get them to recognize patterns in another team, for example, in football, that's why they do the naps. Is they'll go over that stuff on film, and then they'll have them take a nap, and then they'll go over it again.
I thought it was also interesting that the nap time was 30 minutes or 90 minutes, and they said not 60 minutes.
Yeah, that one's not so clear, and because it changes as you get older. As you get older, beyond 30 minutes is probably too much. There's good data that 60 minutes appears to leave you just groggy, and the 90-minute stuff, I'm not so sure about that. That's a lot more confusing, mainly because it's very difficult to get people to take a 90-minute nap. So you really, you're not really clear how much semi-awakeness they have after 60 minutes.
But 20 to 30 minutes is optimal.
Oh, yeah, particularly as you're aging. 20, 30 minutes is optimal.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking about us, all of us. When you're a baby, you can take a nap for 2 or 3 hours. It doesn't bother you at all. But you're particularly, in the stages up to about 4 years where you are wiring and rewiring for efficiency constantly. That's extremely exhausting on the brain. But that's what you're doing at that age. And that's why they can just conk out anywhere at any time when they need to. I wish we could all do that.
Well, it was just interesting to me how not having sleep affects reaction time.
No, I agree with you 100%. I learned this 10 years ago for me. I've talked to a lot of shooters in their 50s who begin to see the same effect. It's 2 or 3 nights of good sleep. They have a great shoot. Miss a couple of those, they don't score, they don't do as well.
It's one of the reasons we added on to the log sheet about 10 years ago. How long did you sleep, and what was the quality of your sleep? Was it deep? Was it restless? To input that into the patterns that people saw in their performances.
Yeah, I kind of have a vague recollection that we even discussed that a bit on a coaching hour about 10 years ago. Yeah, and we put it into and I think that was back when the Out of Your Mind book came out 8 or 10 years ago, and we had the log page in there, and so we added that on the coaching hour to the log page and discuss how many hours did you sleep? Was it deep and restful? Was it restless? Was it, because and the guys that did it immediately established a corollary between the deep sleep and good performance and the restless sleep and not so good performance. In fact, Danny Cummings never could sleep well on the road. And one night on the coaching hour, I said, why don't you take your own pillow with you? Stuff it in your suitcase. And he took his own pillow with him on the road, and he slept like a baby, he said, and had a great performance. I mean, it's something I think that we take for granted way too much, and we don't realize the benefits from a learning standpoint, from a reaction standpoint. I know that I don't care if I don't have the best food. It doesn't matter. When we're traveling,
we try to be in bed off of our feet, watching TV by 8 o'clock at the very latest. May not go to sleep till 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and get up at 6. But we try to be in bed at 8 o'clock, and it's just one of those rituals that we do, because we know if we don't do that, we're going to have a sluggish day, and we're not going to be as sharp as we could.
And I think the other thing in this that you alluded to is they say also, don't have that big meal at that fancy restaurant, because you're not going to sleep well afterwards.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. It's no alcohol 3 hours before bedtime, no caffeine after 2 p.m., Eat light, eat right, and get in bed.